If you struggle to sit and work or focus on a task for any length of time, you are not alone. I find when I sit down to try and do an assignment or any sort of task that is important, I can very easily find myself scrolling through 100 reels on Instagram, watering every plant in the household for the 5th time today, and repacking my bookshelf. Anything to avoid actually doing the work. There's a lot of emerging research at the moment of how our attention spans are actually shrinking, and this is largely being accredited to our use of technology. But today I want to share a technique with you of how you can actually train yourself to work and be more productive for longer periods of time. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Celeste and I am your host and certified life coach. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. When you do subscribe, please leave me a comment down below saying hi or I've subscribed. Due to privacy settings, I can't always see who's joining our community, and it's really nice to get an idea of who I'm talking to on the other side of these videos. September is also Blood Cancer Awareness Month. At the end of this video, I will be sharing some information on how you can get involved and help in the fight against blood cancer. So please don't click away before you get the chance to watch that. As I said at the start of the video, it's really not uncommon and you are absolutely not alone if you find yourself getting easily distracted and not being able to sit and work for any length of time. I would just like to preface this video by saying if you do have an ADHD diagnosis or perhaps another learning disorder that you are being treated or managed for, I would highly recommend you speak to your primary mental health care provider before trying any techniques like this. If there is an underlying cause for your concentration difficulties, it could become more hurtful to you to try and force yourself through something like this, and it could actually just cause more distress and harm. So please be safe and make sure that if you are under the care of a mental health care provider, that you get the okay from them before trying this technique or any technique that you see on the internet for that matter. Back when I was in high school, I'd try and force myself to sit and work and study by setting a 1-hour timer and then taking a gigantic break in between, which looking back now with everything I've figured out since then was really not a productive way to approach the issue. I first started to use this technique when I started university, and I didn't go straight to university out of school. I was 24 turning 25 when I started my first year of university, and I'd had a few years break from when I finished high school to starting university, and I was very much out of practice in terms of how to actually sit down and study and work. Since I started using this technique in my first year of university, I've really been able to expand over time the amount of time I can spend on one task. Even now in my 6th year of academic studies, I do still struggle with this sometimes. Most of the time it's fine. I find the start of an academic year is difficult and it takes a little bit of training to get back into the groove of things. But I also find that as soon as I've got a deadline looming or I'm under any sort of pressure in my personal or academic life, it becomes really difficult again, and I need to go back to this technique and do a bit of a reset for myself. Your triggers may be different, and the work you're doing perhaps might not be academic. It may be something skill-based, but I think the struggle is very real for many of us, and don't beat yourself up if you do struggle. There is a way to work around it. So the idea with this technique is to essentially build up your tolerance to be able to sit and concentrate for longer periods of time. Over the past 2 months, every Thursday, I have been uploading study timers onto my channel, and you'll see that they all have different time increments on them. And the reason I've been building them up over time is to give you the tools in order to use this technique. So the lowest timer I've added is 25 minutes of work with a 5-minute break. But I have noticed the most popular video on my channel in terms of all the study timers is the 35 minutes with a 5-minute break. But when choosing where to start, the idea is you want to find a time that is comfortable for you, but slightly challenging. I wouldn't recommend doing sessions shorter than 25 minutes, but if you need to, you absolutely can. Even if you're able to sit and do 15 minutes of work, it's 15 minutes of work you wouldn't have otherwise done. Pat yourself on the back and celebrate the win. Building habits takes time, and Rome, in fact, was not built in a day. So what you want to do is when you've found this comfortable but slightly challenging time, you want to stick with that for about a week. Once you've been able to use this 15-25 minute period for about a week and you're becoming comfortable with it, now's the time to up your game. For the next week, you're going to want to move up by either a 5 or 10 minute increment. Now that you've adjusted to the shorter time period, this should now fall into the bracket of being comfortable but slightly challenging for you. The goal is, of course, for you to be comfortable eventually, but while you're developing this new habit, the progress and growth comes from being just outside of your comfort zone. I often come back to the analogy of weightlifters, but I think that it's fairly accurate because our brain is a muscle essentially, and it takes exercise and practice, the same as it does with bodybuilding. So if someone is doing bicep curls with a 20 kilogram dumbbell and this is now a comfortable weight for them, if they just stay at that 20 kilogram dumbbell for the rest of time, there's no growth and progress. You have to push and try and pick up that next weight. So whether that is your 22.5 or your 25 kilogram dumbbell, whatever your gym offers, you need to push yourself that little bit out of your comfort zone. And you might not be able to do your usual number of reps with the slightly heavier dumbbell. But if you stick with it, in time, you'll be doing it the same as you would have been doing with the 20 kilogram. And that's why it's important to stick with this technique. Don't become despondent. If you start with your 15-25 minute session and you struggle with it, don't give up. It does take time to build a habit. Stick with it for at least a week before you even consider throwing in the towel. So again, you'll spend about a week at the next level. So whether this is now your 30 or 35 minutes, you want to stick there for about a week until that becomes a little bit too easy for you. Then once again, you will up the time period until it's just that little bit challenging once again. The end goal of how long you want to be able to sit and study and work for will be personal to you. What makes it personal is this technique isn't just for academics. It can be other forms of work in your life as well. If academics is what you're going to be using this for, I wouldn't recommend pushing it more than 60 minutes or an hour and a half before taking a break. There is going to be a point where you're going to start getting fatigued and seeing diminishing returns in the amount of time you spend studying. You certainly don't want to push yourself to the point where you're getting tired and not actually being productive. Just because you're sitting with your work for an hour doesn't mean that you're being productive. So you're going to have to monitor yourself at this point and take note of where the sweet spot is. How long can you push yourself to sit and work while still being productive and getting your work done? Once you reach the goal time that you want to be able to sit and work for, you might suddenly find that those last 5 minutes aren't really productive anymore. Even if you've been using this for a while, or you've been sitting at your 60 or 90 minute study sessions for a while, suddenly those last few minutes may no longer be working for you. And that's okay. Take a step back by 5 or 10 minutes on your study schedule and give yourself the chance to adjust once again. It can be incredibly daunting to try and sit down and do the work. We have so many distractions in our lives. Just our cell phones are a huge distraction for us. So I think that's probably one of the reasons I also discourage you from using your cell phone as a timer. Try and find another means, such as YouTube videos that have got the built-in breaks with them. Because the moment you have to touch your phone to reset that timer, it's an opportunity to check those notifications and go down a distraction rabbit hole. So think of this ability to sit and work as a muscle that you need to train and strengthen over time, because that's pretty much what it is. And it is going to take work and a little bit of discomfort in order to get to where you need to be. Even if you need to sit and do some work, time yourself and see how long you were able to sit and work for before getting distracted. Play around to find a realistic and manageable starting time for yourself. Currently on my channel, my 35-minute timer with the 5-minute break in the middle seems to be the most popular. So I'm not sure if this is a comfortable starting point for most people, but there are lower times to start with as well if you feel like that might not be doable right from the get-go. As you gradually increase your stamina, these sessions are going to become easier. And I know that almost physically frustrating feeling of wanting to just do anything besides the work that you're trying to do. It will get easier as your stamina to be able to sit and work increases. To give yourself the best chance of success for any study session, make sure that the environment that you're working in is conducive and helpful for you to be able to sit and work and study effectively. Keep your space clean, minimize the clutter around you that could distract you from your work. Use your study breaks effectively. Make sure that you're staying hydrated, eating properly, and getting in a little bit of exercise and movement in between. I personally like to use my study and work breaks to take a little bit of a walk and just drink some water or make a cup of coffee. But with that being said, don't overdo the caffeine. That can be counterproductive as well. So in summary, training yourself to work and study for longer periods of time takes patience and strategy. Start with small goals and gradually increase your time as you go. And don't forget to celebrate the progress along the way. The reason the strategy works is because you're breaking your long-term goal of being able to study for 60 or 90 minutes into smaller achievable goals. So celebrate every time you increase that time along the way. And don't forget to look after yourself while you're studying. Stay hydrated, don't forget to move every once in a while, and ensure that your study and work environment is well suited for the work you're trying to achieve. I hope you've been able to take something away from today's video and that you'll be able to implement this technique in your own life. I do have one more timer that I'm set to upload, and that will be a 45-minute timer with a 15-minute break. If there are any timers that you feel would work better for you that you'd like to see on my channel, please do comment down below and I will get those uploaded for you. September is Blood Cancer Awareness Month, and I'd like to just take a moment to let you know how you can get involved and support this cause and potentially even save a life. Did you know that every 27 seconds someone in the world is diagnosed with blood cancer or a blood disorder? DKMS is an international non-profit organization that is committed to the fight against blood cancer. By visiting their website, you can register to become a stem cell donor. I know from last year that many people are concerned about the procedure involved in stem cell donation. If you're anything like me and terrified of medical procedures, I'm pleased to tell you that stem cell donation in this manner is a non-invasive procedure. Registering to become a stem cell donor is as simple as registering on the DKMS website. You will then receive a package with a swab, which you use to swab the inside of your mouth and send this back to the organization. If you are found to be a match, you will then go through a medical check, and if all is in order, you are then cleared for donation. The donation process is as simple as a needle in one arm to draw the blood. Your blood is then passed through a machine which draws out peripheral stem cells from your blood. Your blood is then put back into your body through the other arm. It's really as simple as that. The procedure takes about 4 to 5 hours and, as I said, is non-invasive. Individuals between the age of 17 and 55 qualify to register as a stem cell donor. If you're not able to register as a donor, I highly encourage you to visit their website and look for other ways that you can get involved and help raise awareness. If you're interested in registering or finding out more information, all the links for DKMS will be in the description down below. If you'd like to find out more about my specific type of chronic blood cancer, I will put links in the description down below for PV Reporter and the MPN Research Foundation. While I may not need a stem cell transplant at this point in my disease, it may be necessary for me in the future, and I know me and people like me would be eternally grateful to you if you took the time to register as a potential stem cell donor. Until next week, remember, it takes time and patience to achieve your goals. Be willing to put in the work and you will succeed. See you next week.